So my original plan was to do 3 videos in this vein. The Dead Space original review, the Dead Space remake review, and the Callisto Protocol review. For this third video, I've chosen to put them all against each other and look at that Dead Space remake for the first time. What you're seeing here is the original game on PC at almost top settings, so it's the best the game can look with current day machines. Remember, it came out in 2008. We get the pleasure of having the same scenes in all 3 games. It's totally crazy. And this is obviously the remake, and I went with quality mode. I tested it and stuck with it, which is a really good sign. We'll talk about that later, but look at the detail on Isaac. That is the first thing you'll notice. Coupled with this extremely in-depth lighting and smoke, even different smoke colors getting flashed past you here with yellows matching the lights. It's a whole new experience. Holy crap, I'm happy with this remake. This is up there with Demon Souls and Shadow of the Colossus. Yes, this is Blue Point remake quality. Over to Callisto, and you have the same system with everything, including the grav mechanic, i.e. pulling things towards you, but you can actually do it with enemies in this game. Equally exciting stuff. I'm really impressed that they kept this set piece going through all of the games. What a strange thing to happen, but really cool for someone like me because we've got direct comparisons all over the shop here. You can see immediately the game message with Protocol and it being a lot more close quarters. You don't have enough ammo to deal with that situation and you are having to bash some brains. Very different with Dead Space. It is all about keeping a distance. It doesn't want you to get too much involvement on that close quarters front. So 2 very different directions to go in, but both games are grounded in this solid, gritty, beautiful, horrifying sci-fi universe. Let's just look at some direct comparisons. I'm not going to do this too much. I just want to show how far they took this remake on a visual level. Jesus, does it look good and run smoothly. That's one thing I want to talk about early on is I toggled the performance and the quality mode. I saw so much more crisp graphics going to that quality mode and so little drop in frame rate that I stuck with it. I was very impressed. A few games do that for me, GT7 being one, and Callisto Protocol, funny enough. Let's touch on interiors very quickly, and these are unrecognizable. Ishimura has never looked so good. You don't realize how high the ceilings are, how big the rooms are, or how much actual sheer space they had to work with this game until you start raising your eyes and seeing how high those ceilings go, the massive Fury-like Alien 3 aesthetic, and all that cool color that's boosted in on the commercial side because this was an almost residential vessel. I love the idea of people living actual normal lives on these huge machine-like spaceships. You saw that in Alien Isolation, a little teacup here, a little poster there, really gives it that feel. Now, one of the more striking areas are the smoke effects and the lighting and shadow effect. Industrial areas, some of the darkness, the HDR implementation. This game is a lot darker than the original. When the lights go out, you really do genuinely need that torch. And look at some of the beautiful effects on this mist on the ground inside the rooms. It is mind-blowing how good looking they've got this game, and we haven't even got to the gravity stuff. This is where it starts really flexing. It's unbelievably good looking, this game, when it starts having pieces floating around, changing up light and using that 360 degree control method that they have in the anti-grav sections to its maximum. The developers really grabbed that one. Totally impressed. Hey, Callisto has a different method of giving you ideas about what that complex is actually like. It's got more claustrophobic areas and it's got the classic tunnel stuff, which goes on a little bit too much as far as I'm concerned. One of the things it tries to do, despite having massive expansive areas like we saw in Dead Space, is give the idea that the space station itself extremely secluded and larger than it makes out on its day-to-day sort of gaming model, because you are really shoved down extremely linear corridors, box-shaped rooms. You're never really given that open-air expanse that you see a lot more of in Dead Space.
That's one hell of a view.
Yeah, you got the hell part right, bro. It's a big storm blowing in. You don't want to get caught in the middle of that.
Yeah, I see it. I got eyes on the hangar, too.
Yeah, that's our ticket out of here.
They cleaned up the start in Dead Space. They've made it a bit more efficient and a bit more flush it was a bit stoppy and starty when you first went through the original game. There was quite a lot of dialogue, and everything just seems to kick off a lot quicker, and you're also given a lot of weapons, not having to purchase major ones, which is a good idea because you're not going to avoid anything that you would have otherwise missed if you didn't have the funds. They've also done a couple of things with the loot drops and the ammunition and the amount that you have. I play this game on ruthless efficiency because I want to expend my bullets only when I'm in serious trouble, so I naturally hoard everything and don't use my fire button in case I desperately need to. But this is extremely generous. And there are a lot more bullet spongy. Some of the hardcore monsters, the black suited ones. Now this goes down to something really cool, and it's actually a great idea. On the original, you sort of snap the limbs off. It was all or nothing. On this, you strip it down to the bone. It's super scary. And you see the bits of flesh and you know when one of the limbs is going to go, man. This is some next level gore. I'm in heaven. There also seems to be a lot more things around to throw and explode, and this is one of my favourite bits of capture for the whole video, and it's the prioritising of the limbs getting blown away before the main body and the little bits of things rolling around with blood spewing out of them. I was like, that 60 quid just isn't hurting as bad. Patreon in link. Callisto has an equally devastatingly frightening limb situation going on, but with this it's a lot more impactful, and you don't have the ammunition at your disposal, and it can go very wrong. They do duck and dive in different directions. There's so much RNG on this. The same section can kick out loads of different outcomes, meaning you just can't have a solid plan every time you go into an area. But there is a bit of beef out there about not enough enemy variation. I'm just getting into the technical situation with stuff taking over other stuff, but you're right, there aren't things flying around or giant worms coming out of the ground. I want to see some DLC that will fix that, and the boss situation as well, and I think we're going to get our wish on that front. One thing I do want to talk about, which I'm not over the moon with the Dead Space remake, and that's death animations. They're not that great, and this one in particular, let it play through, honestly, because I wanted to see the end. Look at the low textures on here. Where's the light? I can't see what's going on. The original had better animations on that front. Half the reason I log into Callisto Protocol is to see his death animations, especially the new ones, and they keep me awake at night. Trust me, the thing goes ham on the gore on that front. So I don't know whether it's just because I'm not getting in touch with endgame enemy type, but I'm certainly not seeing that really cool, crazy direction that the game would go in if you were taken down by something and it got hold of you. One of the things that does get me chuckling sometimes is you'll use your telekinesis quite a lot, and the free telekinesis is to use the projectile mechanic, which makes you pick something up and throw it, and normally you could do it with a spike or use something horrific. I end up always picking up a wheelie bin or a disposable camera or a book. I threw one the other day and they just sort of brush off the enemy, and I love it because it's like, that hasn't worked. We need the new projectile. This is some next level lighting. These sparks on the ground, all the gore, macabre, split metal, and there are some actual scenes that you stumbled across. I mean, you've seen this in other reviews. I saw a thumbnail the other day that had the dignified blurring out of some genitalia, I think it was. But this was really dark and scary. You don't have to. They're voluntary, a lot of these things. If you just spend time, you'll find them if you want to. Pretty sure that was a male death gargle, but they may have not had any female ones on file. I think I need to stop playing these games. Now this cutscene. Some of the physics on the way the necromorphs lull on that guy, man, is terrifying. This is where it starts really amping up. It's almost using that infection mechanic with the, there goes the book, by the way, with the flying kite-like things. And I'm so proud of my accomplishment of getting this guy to swing off that lamp above. I can't tell you how difficult a thing, no achievement either, but outside, all hell's breaking loose. I don't know, I've noticed, I'm just walking thinking, God damn, look at this, can't wait to put that on the channel. And then the charge comes in, absolutely amazing stuff. Both of these games love a good shuffle down a tight corridor. Oh my Christ. Either of these two characters see an alcove, even better if it's got something in it that's going to draw, lean, or scare the crap out of you at the end. The suits are in, and the suits are magnificent, and the upgrades cost 10,000, and it does kind of break the bank, but my God, did Callisto drop the ball big on that front with giving you this amazing skin for the paid sort of DLC day one thing. That was really mean. You're just running around in an orange jumpsuit for the majority of the game for people who don't want to shell out for that awesome bit of armor that even looks loads like the Prometheus stuff. So cosmetics and weapons are a definite win for the Dead Space series, but we always knew that. Has this remake changed the original game much and worth the investment? Yes, massively. It's very cool. It's streamlined and a lot more user friendly. There's loads more loot that's much more like a modern day AAA game, coupled with that awesome nostalgia and the big set pieces, the cool stuff, the good bits of the story that you remember, all still intact, all still in the right place. They've just moved a few things around to make it accessible as well for people who've gone nowhere near that original game. That has also brought with it a change I'm not too sure I'm comfortable with, and it's Isaac being quite vocal and also seeing his face at the start of the game. Isaac was always a little bit of a Gordon Freeman for me, a bit of a faceless hero. The only thing you heard him say in the first games were death screams and struggling when he stomped something on the ground. He was just a moody, silent badass. And they've pretty much kept to that rule as much as they could during in-game. When it comes to the cutscenes, way too chatty. The Jacob character in Callisto is really well pitched with the amount he's got to say, what he's got to say, and the situation he's in, because you kind of need some dialogue from his direction. He's kind of trapped. That works a lot better for me. And really, these two games do not have that much difference in graphical prowess either. I was thinking about that. Which one looks better and which one's the better game? It's a super tough question, and you probably need to own both of these, especially if you've never played Dead Space before. They complement each other because Callisto's got a very different story and direction and aesthetic, but they also both have this core root of evil taking over a space station storyline that's flawlessly executed in both titles. One's all about firepower, weaponry, and armor. The other is a very get elbows deep, get your hands dirty, close up, in your face set of combat systems. But the story and non-player characters are very strong in Callisto Protocol. I totally fancy it as a single player offline game up there with Dead Space. So we've got ourselves a bit of a dilemma. The best way probably to fix this situation is to watch my up and coming top horror sci-fi PS4 and PS5 games of all time. I'm going to roll out a massive list, and there's going to be 3 games at the top. Isolation's going to be in there. These 2 games are certainly going to be in there, but we've got loads to go back to, including Prey and some awesome stuff that's coming over on cross-platform, Atomic Heart being one of them. So, just to close off some of this deep divery, this scene was absolutely spectacular. It's the quarantine scene, and they used that smoke on the ground. They sent in those little killer babies with the tentacle projectile weapons, and they were silhouetted against this smoke. The whole thing looked expensive. Hollywood AAA production on this remake. It is a stunner. It does get us placed firmly in the top 3 remakes of all time on the current gen systems, those being Shadow of the Colossus, Demon's Souls, and now the Dead Space remake. I have been Couch Coop. I will see you then!
Bye.